Hi there, welcome to my presentation on myofascial lines. We'll talk about the superficial back line, the superficial front line, the lateral lines, and the spiral lines. We'll use our stickman buddy here. And when we talk about the superficial back line, it begins in the brow ridge, coming over top of the skull to the occipital ridge, straight down the spine, down through the hamstrings, and ending up in the plantar surface of your phalanges. There are two portions or sections of the superficial back line: toes to knees, knees to brow. Except when the body is fully extended, then the entire superficial back line acts cohesively as one unit. The postural purpose of the superficial back line is to create extension. That's your postural function, as the superficial back line is full of slow twitch muscles. They're used for endurance, as keeping the body upright all day long. When we talk about movements, movement purpose of the superficial back line is to create extension and hyperextension. However, when we get to the knees, we're talking about flexion. Also with the ankle, we're talking about flexion. Those are all purposes for the superficial back line. When we get to the superficial front line, we're going to start in the mastoid process. It's going to come down the front of our body across the fifth rib. It'll go across the transverse abdominis down to the toes, essentially, the front. The purpose of this is to balance against, the postural purpose is to balance against the superficial back line. The movement, it also provides support for those body parts that are in front of the line of gravity. The movement functions. It creates flexion of the hips. It creates flexion of the trunk. It comes in two sections as well, a little bit different sections. It goes toes to hip and hip to head. So when the hip is extended, the body is a straight line, it too goes or acts cohesively as one unit. Now when we talk about the lateral line, it's exactly what it sounds. It's on the side of the body. It crisscrosses the body, essentially, and it provides frontal plane stability, essentially. It balances our left and our right, and it creates stabilization for our limbs when we're using our upper body, essentially. The movement patterns creates lateral bend. You can see that lateral bend like this. There we go, stickman. It creates foot inversion as well. We can get his foot up here, the foot going outwards. Doesn't really bend that way on the skeleton, but that's its movement patterns. The spiral line, again, not that complicated, exactly what it sounds. It spirals around the body. Now it starts in your mastoid process, comes down across your lateral ribs, the external obliques, goes across the iliac crest, and down to your first metatarsal base down there. Now its postural function is to maintain balance, essentially. So it can, its movement function, it creates the twisting motion, the rotation motion in your body. And when it comes to your feet, its movement, it maintains the arch system in your feet. So the back and front lines movements, when we talk about our back lines, we can talk about our knee flexion, and if you want to go for a progression of the superficial back line, underneath knee flexion, and if you want to go with progression, and we go hyperextension of the hip. Those are two movements when we talk about the function of a superficial back line. When we talk about movement patterns of the superficial front line, obviously we can have hip flexion and we can have trunk flexion. Didn't really work as well as I want. And with Stickman falling down, that concludes my assignment. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.
See you later.